Just good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Icecast Live. My name is Shane Chebsey, and to my right is Mr. Andrew Richmond, and to my right again is Mr. Ollie McManee, my co-hosts.
Hello.
Good evening, guys. And below us are our special guests this evening from Eighth Continent Publishing, writer Baden Mellonie and artist Paul Peart Smith. Hello, guys. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And one of you guys is up very early this morning, aren't you, Paul?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's 7 a.m. in a Tasmanian morning.
We initially thought you'd had a TARDIS or something, but now we know you're another half a world away.
Yeah. I do feel like a Time Lord quite often. I am ahead of you guys. I'm in the future.
So do you know the results in America then, if you're ahead of us?
No, actually, even my powers.
Is that not how it works?
Can't figure it out.
Yeah, are we peering into the future right now? That is, yes, very cool.
What will I have for breakfast?
Toast and a coffee.
Tell me, Paul. Tell me.
Food, I reckon, food.
Let's just get all these jokes out of the way now. But welcome, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you on the Icecast.
Thank you. Thank you
very much.
And we're going to be talking about two different publications tonight, aren't we? We've got because you guys obviously you publish Eighth Continent. You do two different publications. I'm trying to remember what they are now.
Edge of Extinction.
Can you Edge of Extinction?
Edge of Extinction and the upcoming Rejected Anthology.
Rejected Anthology, which I'm really interested in because weren't they, Mel? They were submissions, weren't they, to 2000 AD?
Yeah, some of them were. Yeah, I ended up with a pile of work that I didn't quite know what to do with. So two of the stories in it were submissions to Strip magazine, which was edited by John Freeman, which disappeared without trace about, about 4 years ago, I think. And there were two rejected Future Shocks. There were a couple of things that had ended up in sort of development hell and some other bits and pieces. And I just sort of thought, what do I do with them? So I just bunged them in a book. I think I'm the first writer to ever do a worst of. But I like to revolutionise comics as much as I can.
You have got quite a few art droids in there, haven't you, from the prog from 2000 AD?
Yeah, well, I thought if I was going to do it, I've got to do it properly, haven't I? So the two Future Shocks are illustrated by Carl Richardson and Patrick Goddard. Dave Millgate in there, he kindly redrew something that there's one story that was published, but I got Dave to redraw it. And Dave Hitchcock is in there, Steve Austin's in there. It's wrapped around with a lovely cover by Steve Sampson, who has just pinged me a message.
There he is!
On cue.
There he is. And I also managed to get John Freeman to very kindly write me an article about the whole strip process and sort of why it went under and the whole comment of that. But what it did for me was throw up the lack of sort of bona fide publishers in the UK. I mean, where do we go? It's 2000 AD, Judge Dredd magazine, and there's a massive, vibrant, wonderful indie press in the UK, but I didn't have any avenues for a lot of this stuff, really. I can't submit original new stuff to Tharg because I hadn't done a Future Shock and had it agreed, so I just thought I'd bung it in a book.
Yeah, why not? Why not? And what a great collection of artists you've got there. And welcome to the Icecast, Steve.
Hi. Hello, everyone. You're good.
Hello, mate.
Hello, Steve.
Great to see you all.
Just had a little hi, guys, from Ben Cullis as well, from the 77, another great indie publication. Hello. Hi, Ben. Thanks for coming along. I'm going to hopefully get Ben on the show at some point. We've already done a podcast with him, so we're we're going to get him on the live show at some point as well. So, when you created the Rejects stories, Mel, did you have an idea in your head already which artists you wanted to do each story, or did that happen later after you put it all together?
I think one of them was created. Some of them were created with artists in mind, and others it was more a question of who was available, who had a slot in their timetable that could do the work for me. So Maine, I originally co-created with Dave Hitchcock. St Andrew's Point was co-created with Steve Austin, and the Tharg's Future Shocks was submitted to Tharg, obviously, and he normally allocates a droid. So I thought, well, I'll allocate my own, and as you do. And the rest of it just sort of fell into place. Dave Millgate had some time on his hands and was agreeable to do some bits and pieces as well. The only reason Paul didn't get involved because I had him working on Edge at the time, and he snowed under.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that out. Actually, I'm sitting there doing the mental calculations.
But I was going to say, you had an interesting way of raising the funds for it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we did a Kickstarter campaign for Edge of Extinction issue 2, and it went Pete Tong because I have this horrible problem with asking people for support, first of all, and secondly, I sort of had this other issue with charging too much. So I tried to do the comic at cost price, and of course it doesn't work like that. You've got to up the ante and get people to fund more. So it fell on its buttocks somewhat. So I just thought, I've got a PayPal account. I'll just get people to ping me the money directly into my PayPal account, and then I'll cost everything, get some freebies thrown in. Steve very kindly did a print of the cover for me, and we sorted out a bookmark and some other limited little bits and pieces, and Steve signed the prints for me as well, so they've been signed by himself and myself, and yeah, it seemed to work. It just, Kickstarter take 10% at least. And I don't like giving people money for the sake of giving them money. I know it's a massive platform, but if people just want to put money into my bank account, I ain't got a problem with that, and I'm never going to have a problem with that. So.
But what you did, though, is you set yourself a target, didn't you? And you were putting it on social media to try and get
social media.
Like $5,000 or something? I can't remember.
No, it was only 1,500 quid.
1,500. Okay.
Yeah, I just
so modest. Yeah.
And I think I've raised about $2,000 for it in total, and I couldn't thank people enough. Without the support of the people that have come forward, and especially by things like the Facebook 2000 AD groups, 1977 to 2000 AD, the Southern Contingent, and all these other groups, it probably wouldn't have happened. So, thanks very much to everybody.
It seems like you've got a bigger following than you like to think, as if you said the first Kickstarter tanked.
Yeah.
But this, it's kind of unprecedented, really. You've gone for I presume it's a graphic novel, isn't it? It's a large...
Yeah, it's a 68-page American-sized graphic novel, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
obviously I supported you, and I'm really looking forward to getting it.
There's another 45 going out tomorrow, Andrew.
Right, there we go. So
we've got another guest waiting in the wings here, guys. I'm just going to bring in David Millgate.
Hello.
Welcome, David.
Good evening.
All these.
Wow. This is like the Brady Bunch.
It just took me a few...
like Celebrity Squares.
I know. You just have to forgive me. It took me a few minutes to get it all set up. Get my headphones working.
It is. I think this is the most guests we've ever had.
We need 2 more to fill those corners.
Yeah.
We need Christopher Biggins down one corner.
Yeah.
Willie Rushton.
Unfortunately, already passed. And Sue Pollard and Christopher Biggins. They'd be on Celebrity Squares.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see that we're using the very up-to-the-minute references there.
I know.
With a kid. It's primetime Saturday television next week, I think. Now lockdown's kicked off.
That's it.
Obviously, you can put them all in their boxes and, be socially
You
distant.
could, couldn't you?
Yeah.
We're onto something now. Next
Yeah,
week,
it
it's
Yeah.
Celebrity
I can't even
Comic
remember what Celebrity Square was
Yeah,
about,
man.
though.
It's just
No
a
idea
quiz
what it's
show, wasn't
about.
it? Didn't
Is
they
that
just?
all?
Wasn't it like 3 people or 2 people, and they asked questions, and then they had the option of asking a celebrity a question
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that it?
it was a long time.
that was the other one. That was
I
the
have
one
no-
with
Blankety
Les Dawson.
Blank.
Yeah, it's Blankety Blank.
Oh, blankety blank.
I thought Celebrity
It was
Square.
the worst thing, wasn't it?
Celebrity Squares is similar. It was in
It's
it's
the
imported
same
from
sort of
America.
thing. Yeah. In fact, it was just rows of minor
Yeah.
celebrities.
And the person who
Getting
got the
things wrong.
middle square was often the most funny. Our version had Willie Russell.
Over to you, Baden.
Yeah, you're the funniest, apparently.
I like that
Oh,
other
yeah.
one more. What was it, Mr. and Mrs.? Do you
Oh,
remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, how unpolitically
And then,
correct was that?
Oh my god!
And
Oh,
Sale
God,
of the
yeah.
Century as well. Sale of the Century.
Well, they
Blimey.
tried to bring Mr. and Mrs. back, didn't they?
They
About,
tried to
I
bring
don't
a few
know,
of them back.
6 or 7
Whose
years
idea
ago.
was that?
Oh, bad idea, man.
I'm glad I
So
escaped that.
this is no longer a comics chat show. This is now all about 80s quiz show.
It's a crazy chat. That's what happens when you get 7 people in.
Yeah, man.
Now, prizes tonight will be
David's wondering what he's walked into.
Am I in the right place?
What are these crazies?
I think I'm probably exactly where I should be, really. I think.
Yeah.
If it's about
Well,
being
we will-
crazy, yeah.
We will try our best to promote your comics tonight.
Yeah. And throw in a few archaic references from the 70s.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, everyone's got Google. They can sit there on
Yeah,
Google.
that's true.
they
Oh,
can.
who presented Celebrity Squares? I can't remember. Going back to
Bob
paper-
Monkhouse in the 70s.
Was it Monkhouse?
It was back in the 70s. That's what I remember.
Ooh.
Like I said, Willie Russell always had it.
Willie
I
Middle
Rushton.
square. Willie Russell always had the middle
Rushton.
square. Was it Russell?
Russell?
Yeah.
Willie
Russell's
Rushton.
Russell's
Russell's the writer.
And Spit the Dog, he was on it
Yeah.
sometimes, wasn't he?
Bob Carroll, geez.
Yeah, yes, Bob Carroll, Spit the Dog.
Oh my god!
We'll show
Anyway,
now.
comic
Anyway,
books.
enough of this nonsense.
Comic
Yeah.
books.
You're going to be
So
wheeling us off the old records.
I can't believe no one's mentioned Bullseye yet.
Oh, now you've started something.
I'm just waiting for Harold Vorderman to turn
3,
up.
2, 1. Ted
Oh,
Rogers.
I'm amazed we're not like losing viewers. So
Okay.
anyway, we'll start talking about comics and everyone will just disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's try and find out a little bit about each of our guests because we've got 4 guests on
Yeah.
tonight, and we want to find a little bit about what you've done and what you're doing. So
So
we'll may
who's
as
the
well start.
wealthiest? Who's
Yeah,
got the
who's-
most money? Who's the most famous? Who's got
That's
the
not
biggest
crap.
car? What's your
I'm
favourite
so
team?
glad you said car then, Andy. I'm so glad. It's not that sort of show. It's not that sort of show. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start with Steve as he's first on the list. So you're an artist, I believe, Steve.
Apparently.
And how
Oh,
did
the
you
dry
get
wit
into,
of Saint
how
Ebony.
did you get into comics, mate?
Oh, wow. That's such a long time ago.
Barely remember.
Yeah, well, because I don't, apart from stuff like Mill stuff and some other independent stuff, I mostly work in the games industry and do promotional stuff for movies as well now. So, but back in when I was doing 2000 AD, it was in the days way before computers. So I used to send a little booklet of photos out to companies all around the country with a return envelope. And to this day, I'm still not sure how it got to Steve McManus, but it got to Steve McManus at 2000 AD. And then he asked me in, and that was the start of it, really. And then I'd done some characters that had no story behind them, and he really liked them, and he showed them to John Wagner, and John had this story, Britsit Babes, and he thought they were perfect for that story. So So that started it off really. And then
what year was that? What year was that?
Oh,
Mid-80s, late 80s?
He's asked the
bloody
question.
nerd.
Yeah.
No, I'd just like to try and get the.
Yeah, I suppose so. It was.
So Steve was editor. That was till about 86, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, so it was late 80s. Yeah, and so we did that Britsy Babes, and then I did a few other little things, and then I kind of got the permanent gig doing Anderson because Arthur Ranson had just sort of stopped doing it. I think he was pursuing things in America. And Alan wrote this story where there was a number of artists that did a story, sort of one or two, or I did two, but I think most people did one part of the story, the Anderson story. And then eventually, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think by that time maybe David Bishop was the editor, and he sort of got in contact and said Alan really liked what you did, and we'd like you to do some more Anderson. And then I did Anderson for ages and ages. And then after Anderson was Harmony for a while. And then I just sort of wandered into doing games because at the time, it's probably still the case now, they were paying way more money, and I was getting older, and doing comics was like everything I ever wanted when I was a kid. You couldn't imagine being a comic artist, but as you get older, other things come into play, and so the move.
What brought you back into comics then, Steve? Was it just Mel? Was it just Mel saying, "Come on, get back into it"?
We've known each other for ages from back in those days, and we've always kept in contact, and whenever he's asked for bits and pieces, it's just mostly covers and like the sort of logos and the layout stuff that I do for Mel. So wherever I get a message off him and he just sort of says got time for a cover, or I'm doing a new one, got time for a cover, I always say yes. I never say no. And it's really good fun. I think what he does is just brilliant, and it's great to support that as really, because he's never given up. He just keeps at it. So it's great to see him, getting some recognition now, and hopefully Rejected will be a big hit for him, and he can do many more things like that.
Definitely. And Mel, let's come to you, mate. What's your story, you dodgy geezer?
It's my story. Well, I guess my story. I when I was a kid, I loved English. I wrote a bit when I was a kid, and I had some nonsense published when I was a boy in books of poetry and stuff like that. And then I drifted away from it. And then, funnily enough, I ended up doing a film script for Parallel Pictures back in about '92, which didn't come to anything. But I sort of thought, hang on a minute, I can write. But then I got distracted again by other stuff, and then eventually what happened was we had a comic shop open up in Bedford again in 2004 called Close Encounters. They
still there,
still there, and they started doing comic signings. So I started to meet people like Charlie Adler, Glenn Fabray, Simon Bisley, Liam Sharp, and then through them met Paul and Dave and various other professionals. So I started attending cons. And then I started to have these conversations with people about writing, and I thought, well, I used to write, so maybe I'll try again. So I started writing again about 2008, 2009. Paul and I started knocking around with this idea about Edge of Extinction, and we sort of nailed down some roughs and stuff, and Paul did 6 pages, and I pinned that out to some publishers, and we sort of sat there and waited and waited. Waited. And IDW had a look at it.
They didn't know what they had.
And IDW had a look, and they waited, and then I just thought, sorry, I'll do it myself. And by that point, I'd done some work for Reaper Comics. I'd done some work for Borderline Press. I'd had some other bits and pieces published, so I just thought, 8th Continent, do it ourselves. Get it out there, see what happens, basically. And
what's the idea behind the name of the publishing house, mate?
Well, Eighth Continent just came from this idea about, well, I'm a geography graduate, so the notion of Pangaea and disappearing worlds, and Doug McClure, bless him. Yeah, the island
Man that time forgot.
All that sort of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
There's got to be an eighth continent out there somewhere. And that's just the rationale behind it. It's that sort of place where you can team up with Carol Vorderman and battle giant crabs being ridden.
Carol Vorderman?
I didn't know she had crabs.
He's back to the quiz shows again.
Yeah. Doug McClure and Carol Vorderman.
Yeah, Carol Vorderman, giant crabs and prehistoric werewolf crab heads or something. I don't know. And that's where it comes from anyway. Basically.
Should have called the anthology Waiting, maybe, instead of Rejected.
Yeah, that could be it.
That could be the next one.
Waiting.
I like that you've owned the title on this one, Mel. Rejected. It does what it does on the tin.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing was, when I got my first rejection from Tharg, I was gutted because I love 2000 AD. I wasn't egotistical enough to think that the piece of work should have gone into the magazine, but I was like, oh no, bugger. All right, I better go back to the drawing board again. And then I sort of, the more rejections you get, the sort of thicker your skin gets, and the more you actually realise, the healing process comes through it, and you actually realise it's somebody's opinion. And that opinion just differs from whether or not you think that piece of work is any good. And we all have different of opinions. It might be politics, it might be our favourite writer, our favourite film, our favourite artist, whatever it might be. We've all been rejected by somebody in our life at some stage. So it sort of became quite therapeutic putting this, all this worst of into a book, and then just putting it out there to see what people think. And so far the reviews and the feedback's been pretty positive. We're starting to get reviews through. So yeah, no complaints. It's been good, and it's also hopefully going to lead to some of those projects being propelled into their own comics as well.
Yeah.
And if it gets to the desk of Tharg, he might come chasing you.
Well,
you know what I mean?
If he wishes to chase me, I will not run very quickly.
There you go. Are you surrounded by a wall of artists by you?
I will be eminently catchable.
You'll be going, I'm a bit busy, Tharg.
Yeah.
A bit busy.
Yeah.
Me and Carol Vorderman are going
them.
chasing some crabs.
The thing is, I've got to submit another Tharg's Future Shot now, so I can get a second volume of Rejected.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
So what happens if they say yes to them all? You've got no material.
I've got a plan. Rejected Volume 2. What I've done with Volume 2 is, the good news is I won't be in it. I've already contacted a load of script droids, and I'm getting their Rejected Tharg's Future Shots.
That's good.
And getting 2080 or 2080 artists to draw them.
Fantastic idea. So spread the love. Spread the rejection.
Yeah.
Worse than 2000 AD.
Look at all these great losers.
Because that's been quite interesting in itself, because some people I've contacted have gone, oh, I've never had anything rejected. And I've gone,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
That work. So, but luckily for me, quite a number have. So,
yeah.
Yeah. There'll be more
Quite a few have admitted to it.
Yeah.
For my handle.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Paul, you have worked for 2000 AD though, haven't you, Paul?
I have.
Yeah, but so have you had rejections as well, though?
Yeah, but I'm not the most pushy of guys, so I try and sort of like make sure that my ducks are lined up in a row before I attack something. But with everything, there's sometimes you can have your time. And then it's not as easy. Then I've always wanted to be a comic book artist. I've always sort of practiced it. Even I started off in the sort of classic way. You didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
You knew it was coming.
You know, the legendary story of a kid who's ill, and then his mother, invariably mother, gives the kid some comics to keep him, you know, occupied. And that's exactly what happened
with Bruce Willis in it.
Say again?
Is this the story with Bruce Willis in it?
Yeah, he's in there somewhere. Yeah.
There'll be a car crash. This is Untouchable. You're telling us Untouchables, not Unbreakable, Paul.
That's the other one.
Yeah. Oh my God, I am a hero. I'm a Time Lord and a hero. Oh my gosh. But yeah, from then on, I was copying, you know, Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and John Buscema and those old reprints he used to get, the Titans and
great
Daredevil
stuff.
and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what, you know, I cut my teeth on, you know. So I went all through school, you know, practicing at home. Went to art school where they tried to dissuade me from following that path. Let's put it that way. It was not what it was. You know, comics weren't what they are now then. But, you know, I stuck with it and managed to get myself, you know, I went to UCAC a number of times back in the day. You know, the UK Comics Art.
Yeah, I think we've all been to that one, guys.
Yes. I mean, if you go to that as a young, you know, British guy, you are going to be into comics, you know, because I mean, all the best people turned up, and the energy there, the bar, everything that was going on there was, you know, it was a way of making me a convert for life, you know. So I went there a number of years with my portfolio, and each year, hopefully I got a little bit better. And in 1989, it would have been 1989, I met Steve McManus, and he saw my portfolio, asked me to do a future show. So I was accepted. You know, sorry, mate. It's just, you know.
You just had a comment through from Ben.
I can't read the book for that reason. I'm sorry, mate.
Ben said, call it accepted. So you could call the next one accepted. There you go.
Good way.
But yeah, so I did this Future Shock, and then little bits and pieces came along. A Judge Dredd there, and did some Judge Hershey. Yeah, a few bits and pieces, and then I was given Slaughter Bowl, which was that was something else, by the amazing John Smith. And you know, obviously, you know, I hope I'm moving forwards, and you know, I look back with fondness and a bit of terror at, you know, what I was doing then, you know, as sure most artists do. But you know, it was a good time. So after that, my 2000 AD time was roughly around 6 years, sort of like more or less continuously. And then I got some work on some other magazines. I did some Horrible Histories when there was they paid really well, and it was fun doing all this historical stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Jackie Chan magazine was like, you know, doing these sort of like loose animated style drawings, which was really, really cool, and again paid well. And then I worked as a graphic designer. I missed out. I worked as a concept artist for a video game company for a number of years, and so I knocked around doing a bunch of other things. But all through that time, I'd kept in contact with Baden. And we met up when we could. There was a Glasgow convention and a few other bits and pieces, you know. And yeah, as he said, we started to knock around this idea of Edge of Extinction. And it's been a long process because it's been in between other things. But yeah, we're building up a bit of a head of steam. Is you know, we've knocked out a few comics here, and now we're looking to get the collection together.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And it's been a real. I've actually it's been a learning curve for me as well, because I've been transitioning from traditional to digital artwork. So I've used this as a project to sort of like really cut my teeth on that. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's been really interesting.
And have you seen a progression then from like issue 1? Is it on issue 4 now?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed yourself a change in your style as you've gone along?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. It's interesting when you're doing something like that, and it's not like, you know, when you're sort of doing it along with other things, is that your progression kind of moves in a kind of a timey-wimey, if I may use a Doctor Who term, sort of way, kind of, you know. But when you look back at the body of it, you can see that you have been moving forwards, you know. So yeah, I'm really excited to get to the next one, because there's a lot of stuff from the previous one that I learned that I would like to bring to it. So yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see it's been really steep learning curve.
You say digital. Are you using what are you using? A Cintiq or an iPad?
I am using a Cintiq style device.
Device.
A dodgy knockoff.
I think Paul's frozen.
Is he frozen? Or is he giving us that stare?
Oh no.
Well, can you guys see the artwork I'm sharing?
Oh, we're back.
No.
All right.
No.
Oh, he's back again.
There's
Oh,
Paul
he's-
back.
You froze, and again.
Yeah. Was that for? Oh, was that just me? Did I
Yeah.
freeze? Because all your screens went off. Oh, okay. All right. I'm using a
So it's a
Cintiq style
portable tablet.
device, and no, it's a desktop
The desktop
style.
right.
So it's got its own stand, and it's it's one of the Chinese sort of versions of the Cintiq, and it's a 15-inch one. Oh, I've gone off again.
No, you're
it's
still there.
sharing.
I'm trying to share the artwork.
I'm just trying to share the artwork for you.
Oh, bless. Sorry.
Keep talking.
It's technology business.
Mhm.
Don't ever go over in Tez.
Can you guys see the artwork now?
No, it's just
No.
a dark square.
square.
Oh,
There
there
you
we
go.
go.
There you go.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Bits and pieces.
Look at that.
that's nice stuff.
Cheers.
Lovely.
So let's see if we can make that a bit smaller. Wow. And they've got some tones there as well. Well, that's nice. So what issue are these scenes from, Paul?
They're from all 4 issues, so I've just taken a selection. And let's see, this one is from the latest issue.
Christ. Really nice, lines. I really like the energy of it. It's perfect for this sort of story, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a story that lends itself to getting messy.
Yeah, it's nice, gnarly artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to offset, because the pens that you get with these programs are quite sort of precise and sort of, I wouldn't say they're clinical necessarily, but I guess they are, So I'm not, I haven't been up until now one for creating my own brushes. I have started doing that recently, and I've found that I'm getting even more out of these programs. But what I've been really doing is battling with with that sort of clinical sort of quality that the programs have, and try and keep it organic. This is from another project, a recent project that I've just completed. It's part of a video for a band called Earthfish, who are some friends of mine, and it features Lee Scratch Perry.
Wow.
So yeah, he gave his blessing for the artwork and stuff, and it's been a real ball working on that. So You can find that on YouTube. Yeah, I can pass you the links for that.
That'd be cool. We can share the links on the page later.
Cool. But just to show you, as I say, I'm just trying to sort of like fight that inorganic nature of computers and make it much more.
It certainly looks
works.
very organic. Yeah, it doesn't look okay. You can tell you know that it's created digitally, but it definitely doesn't feel digital. It feels like
it's a good style for horror as well, isn't it? That
perfect for horror, isn't it?
Particularly on those characters. The nice contrast with the human characters are a little bit more cleaner edged. Look, works really well, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And of course, I suppose.
Sorry, go on, Ollie.
I was going to say, of course, working in black and white, I love the way that you're including grey tones in it as well.
Yeah, I've been sort of getting into a lot of Japanese stuff, and I'm trying to really take in the way that they use tone, because it's not necessarily as a replacement for color necessarily.
Yeah,
they use it for emotional content, which is a whole new area which I'm working on.
Right.
But also to create depth and texture to things, and
that's good around the eye. That's a good example of creating depth right there, isn't it?
Yeah. Just to enhance what the emotional sort of signals you're trying to give off in the drawing. It's a learning curve from all sorts of angles. I never really considered tone before working on Edge. So,
and I like the way you've worked back into it then with the white. Once you've laid down the tone, just to sort of build it up a little bit. That's really nice.
Yeah.
You can get a bit carried away with that stuff, can't you, Paul? I know myself when I do digital stuff, it's like you start doing all these different layers, and you keep going back
stop, I suppose.
Yeah, you keep going back in with highlights. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you do have to sort of like decide when to stop, especially when you haven't got like hard deadlines. Usually the deadlines are the things that obviously
of course,
make your mind up for you. But with this thing, it's been a sort of a labor of love. So I've had to fight that impulse. But you can see sometimes I didn't fight it that hard. If you look at the detail in this guy's face,
you can see you're enjoying it, mate. You're enjoying it.
Yeah, I was a tad.
Yeah.
But one of the beauties of digital is that if you try to do that as we would have done 20, 30 years ago, you'd be sat there with sheets of Lecithin and a scalpel.
Yes.
And then scratching it away. Whereas this, you can basically
it costs a fortune as well.
Yeah.
Yes. But even then, I actually did a little bit of that. I did a Hark and Burr one-off story. And I decided to use screen tones back then.
Yeah.
Right.
And even then, I found myself noodling, in the sense that, I did 3 grades of screen tone, and I cut a grade and I put it down. And I think, that looks all right, but it just needs a bit more depth. So add another one over the top of it, just to, trying to
angle
avoid
that
thing going on. And I was, if you saw the pages were like topographical. You know what I mean? They were like, you could.
I can imagine you had a very heavy portfolio.
Just a tad. One arm was like Arnold Schwarzenegger's, and that was the arm that was carrying the.
And it was probably done on something like CS10 board as well, which would be thick cardboard.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad that those days are behind. You know what I mean? You don't have to lug that stuff around.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I used to do all my artwork on CS10. It weighed a ton, that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. But again, you can get some nice effects with scratching away with scalpels and all manner of stuff on CS10. Yeah, lovely stuff.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah. So we've spent enough time with you, Paul. Now we've got last but certainly not least, David Millgate. David, how did you how did you get into comics, mate?
Oh God, now you're putting me on the spot. Okay, potted history. I suppose I was one of those kids brought up on a diet of 80s video nasties, heavy metal and punk and comics, you know, mainly Judge Dredd and 2000 AD.
That'd do
So
it.
yeah, that was me. You
Like
know.
most of us.
Yeah, there was a few of us knocking about. Yeah, I used to, you know, I was in my bedroom listening to heavy metal and listening to Sabbath and just reading Judge Dredd, like, you know, with my friends. And I used to be involved in doing artwork for like punk fanzines.
Cool.
You know, fanzines, it was really kind of, you know, that precursor to what's now the interweb. In a way, you know, that was kind of like where I first realized that maybe I could do something in comics, because I would be doing the drawings for the fanzine for all these bands, and it was kind of like doing record cover art, I suppose. And a lot of the subject matter, because it was mainly punk and metal, it's kind of dark and sort of horror related or whatever. People would say, "Oh, you'd be great doing Judge Dredd, or you could draw comics for 2000 AD." And I'm like, yeah. I never really thought of myself as doing that. I was just a fan. I just used to lap that stuff up, you know. I just used to love it so much. But even though I was always drawing, and it was always something I was kind of encouraged to do at school by all my teachers, you know, "Oh, you're good at drawing, you should do something in art," I was a little bit blasé about it, I suppose. I hadn't really made that kind of mental jump to thinking that I could actually do that myself. I would sit there, you know, just looking at artwork by Brian Bolland and Mike McMahon and Kev O'Neill, they were the people that really influenced me early on when it comes to comics. Over time, I suppose I thought maybe I could send something into Tharg and see how how he reacted to it. I got rejected a bunch of times, just like you, Mel. You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all that. And I was, even though, you know, there was a lot of things that I needed to improve on with my work. You know, I was very tenacious. I didn't give in. You know, I didn't throw the towel in at the first hurdle. I was very kind of, I'm going to stick with this because I really feel like I can get there if I just keep going at it.
And did you get lots of encouragement? Did you get people who sort of said, "Come on, you just need to do this with your work. You just need to..." Was there anyone sort of giving you that?
Well, no one person. It would have been nice if I had that kind of mentor person who, you know, the older person who maybe you know, or someone introduces you to, who's maybe in the industry already and can kind of like help you along a bit. I didn't really have that, but I had a lot of people who believed in what I was doing, that they thought it would get me somewhere eventually. And whether it be teachers at school or just friends or relatives or whatever, everyone I knew was very encouraging about what I was doing. Maybe they had more belief in my work than I did myself. Back then, I sort of lacked a bit of confidence, I think, when I was younger. But I stuck with it. I kept sending stuff in, and lo and behold, one day I got accepted. I think it was Dave Bishop might have been the editor at that point.
Right.
I believe it was. Anyway, he sent me a Dredd, and it was a John Wagner Dredd, and I almost fell off the chair when I saw the script and it had his name on the front.
That's what everyone wants, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, I suppose. Even though I'd been trying to get there for maybe 3 or 4 years at this point, and every time it was a sort of, "Oh, you're not there yet, come back to us in 6 months," or whatever. And I just kept doing that. And then all of a sudden I got the script and it was like, okay, get on with this. And, you know, I did that, and it all started there really. And eventually I ended up doing things like the Sinister Dexter. I was co-creator on that with Dan Abnett.
And that ran for a long time, didn't it? I mean, I've got some Sinister Dexter graphic novels here, I think, somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. There's great stuff, you know. And did that build your confidence then once you started, you know, getting the work
absolutely.
on a more regular basis? And did you feel that helped you then also improve your work because you were confident to experiment a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was good for my confidence. Of course, I was well aware that I had a long way to go before I was anywhere near, you know, the people that I idolized in the industry. To me, they seemed like gods from some other dimension. They were that good. The people that you look up to when you're young and you're starting out are always the ones that you're always going to revere for your entire life, because they're right up there, you know. and that's still the same now. If you ask me who my favourite artists are, it's still people like Brian Bolland and Kevin O'Neill, those guys. And obviously then I kind of started to get interested in art in other areas, but still within genre. So whether we're talking about films or like Paul said, computer games. I think Steve mentioned, doing the concepts for films. I've kind of touched upon all those things as well myself. So it seems to be that once you get into comics and you've done that for a while, then you want to go somewhere else and use your skills and try something slightly different.
I mean, like storyboarding as well. A lot of comic artists I've spoke to on the audio podcast that I do, which is every Saturday, guys. Every Saturday night, audio podcast called the Icecast. It's just me and a creator. But yeah, a lot of guys like Mike Collins. I was talking to him, and he said it was just they love comic artists because that storytelling ability is there. And it's just like a talent. It's an ability that not every artist has. A lot of concept artists, amazing illustrators, but they're not storytellers. Whereas a comic artist can come in and they can do those storyboards. They can just whack them out. So it's an opportunity. There's lots of opportunities, I think, for comic artists to diversify. And obviously, in the comic industry, sometimes you have to do that because, as I think Steve said earlier, comics just started, not paying enough.
I think that's definitely part of it as well. Wanting to move into other areas. When you realise that doing comics, although you might love it and it kind of is a labour of love, it doesn't pay great. Generally speaking, if you get a good gig and you think, oh well, this is a decent page rate, then you need to kind of feel like you need to hang on to it for grim death, because they're so few and far between. And maybe you think it's kind of like the grass is maybe greener, always greener on the other side. And you think, movies, the glamour, the glitz. Of course, when you start doing it for real and you realise that it's really kind of no different. There's always politics involved. There's always other people. There's always crazy deadlines. There's always all these other pressures that come to bear on it. And it's not just about the art. It's always about all these other things that come into play. If you're doing it professionally, it's I always say, I had a lot more fun reading comics when I was a kid than I do have drawing them as an adult. And it sounds a little bit negative, but I think it's just realistic. I think it's just human nature to make. If it becomes your job, then it becomes part of your everyday life, and it can quite easily seem mundane if you're doing it day in, day out. The trick is keeping that magic and keeping that inspiration, and trying to keep the love for the work.
Yeah, and I think we're doing like stuff that you guys are doing now. You can reignite that, can't you? I mean, have you found it really helps to do projects like this when you're on the slog, but then you get a chance to do something that you just want to do that's yours. I mean, Mel, I wanted to ask actually as well, what's the deal with this title? Do these guys retain any of the ownership of the work, or is it just like a work for hire deal? Or do you not want to tell me that?
in terms of Edge, that's creator owned. The guys do the covers for me, which is incredibly kind of them. And we try and ensure, that there's some type of financial remuneration at the end of the platform somewhere. And it's all creator owned. Dave and Steve, they very kindly give their time, and they've got the creative rights for their works that we put in there as well. So it's a labour of love, and we're in a position where, fortunately, so far we seem to be doing okay with that, and we can do what we like with the product. It's that simple. So I was very confused earlier this year when I found a trailer for a horror film filmed in Bedfordshire called Edge of Extinction. And
I've seen that online when I was researching for this. I came across it. I was
like, hang on a minute, what the heck's going on here? And it's actually filmed. Part of the trailer is filmed at school behind the school that I used to work at.
Oh my gosh.
It would have been on the doorstep, so I don't know what happened there, but that is not us, unfortunately. Well, although the film's as good as our product anyway, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes to it, I mean, there might be an issue there. Do you think? Because obviously they've like the two ideas have appeared at a similar time in history, and at some point, if one of them grows, into a public concern, there might be this like, well, we came up with it first.
Well, as far as I'm aware, theirs doesn't have zombies in it. It's a post-apocalyptic sort of more.
It's that Edge of Extinction.
Yeah, it's not zombies near death.
Not zombies.
Yeah. So, but you can't trademark a name like that. So
no.
It was actually filmed. This is what annoyed me. It was filmed as something else.
Right.
It had a different filming
different working title.
Blue Harvest.
Name to Edge of Extinction.
Blue Harvest.
And I'm like, hang on.
Who's the geek?
I find out who you are.
Yeah.
I think we all know that one. A little comment here from Ed Doyle, who I think we all know. Hi, everyone. Looking forward to Rejected.
Hello, Ed.
Ed is a very prolific artist, actually. I've been familiar with his work for quite some time.
I think he's got a team of highly trained octopi, to be honest. He seems to just produce something new every week. I don't know how he does it, bless him. And Ed has been posted. So hopefully he can have it.
Yeah, put mine to the top of the pile.
Yeah, it's been posted. Ed.
That's good. I'm sure that's the only reason he's commenting. He's just checking on you.
Yeah, where's my stuff?
Yeah, where's the stuff?
Another comment from James Gray. Hi, James.
Oh, cheers, James.
Rejected looks really good. I think I agree. Yeah. What's he's put here? Ed is a machine, apparently.
There you go. You've heard it
is that literal? Is that he actually is a robot, and that's how he manages to get? He is an art droid, quite literally.
So I'd like to ask you. So Rejected, will you be able to buy it if people haven't got it? Have you got copies available? And also with Edge as well, is that going on Kickstarter, or are you going to do the same sort of method?
Well, Paul sent me a load of links earlier this week, and we're looking at a variety of different funding platforms / funding mechanisms to try and work out which one is the best one for us moving forwards, I think. It could very well be Kickstarter, but it could be Amazon print on demand. It could be one of the other ones. Paul and I are having a chat about this at the weekend, aren't we, Paul? So we're going to try and.
But Get My Comics seems to be doing quite well as well, which people like Sentinel
they've contacted me about distribution. I mean, Edge is in 20 shops as it is across the UK, which I've managed to sort out. There's the website, so there's 8thcontinent.com and edgeofextinction.co.uk. You can get them from them. You can get them directly from me. There will be excess stock. There certainly is of Rejected because I've managed to get enough printed, so we're okay there as well. And it'll be the same for Edge. We'll work out a funding platform. We've already.
Sorry, I'm doing some publicity for you. How much is Rejected retailing for? If somebody was listening now.
£10 plus postage. I will post worldwide. So that would depend on where you are.
America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is
expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not the priciest so far, though. The priciest so far has been Sydney at £9.52. That's pricey. America so far, we sold a couple in America so far. They've gone out at about £7 postage.
Yeah.
I think it's more expensive getting stuff from America. They've really ramped the prices up, which is affecting Kickstarter campaigns.
But I think because of the election, the American Post Office.
What election?
Oh, there's some election happening. Alice Cooper. He wants to be elected.
I know they've got a new comics laureate, but I didn't know about any other election.
Well, don't get started on that, Ollie.
But I posted something to the States the other day, and she said we can guarantee it getting to America, but there is no way of guarantee it can get from when it lands to the person.
Oh,
just because it's
because of all the postal votes.
Everything. Yeah, it's just
bonkers, isn't
put a kibosh on it all. So
Yeah.
I heard
Wow.
recently, actually, that in America, Instagram have stopped the functionality of hashtags in America.
Huh?
Because they've actually taken away the functionality of hashtags on Instagram in America to stop the spreading of fake news. Apparently,
Oh, dear me.
Wow.
yeah,
fake news. We hadn't heard of
Wow.
fake news until Trump.
yeah,
It was all real news.
yeah. Well, maybe he did us a favour. Eh?
Everything that man spouts.
Might have done.
Yeah. Still.
Anyway, we don't want to talk about that.
No,
idiot.
not when we can talk about comics.
Well, yeah, that's why we
Yeah.
talk about comics, to get away from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Rejected, and you picked up on it very early on, Mel. I like the idea of Rejected being an anthology, being black and white, being very much part of the British tradition of comics, that goes back beyond the 70s. And I think it's a really nice idea to get, as you said, art droids as well as other artists involved. Has it been a great, enjoyable process? I know it started off as a bunch of rejected scripts, and I know you said it was quite cathartic, but looking back at it now, how does it feel as you're posting off those comics, those physical printed comics, to punters all around the world?
It feels really good. I won't deny it. I mean, getting anything printed is a labour of love for us guys, because we have to try and find the time amongst everything else we do, and we've got to try and find the money to get it done. And I can't thank people enough for backing this. I mean, it was a bit of a slightly risky move. Send your money to me directly and I'll run off to Barbados. Was the alternative. But luckily for me, people have trusted me to get the
It's because
project.
COVID wasn't letting you go to Barbados. That was it.
Yeah, he's in lockdown. He couldn't run.
I would have found somewhere.
Don't blame it on your generosity as a human being.
Hutton Bodmin Moor. But no, it's really, really good. And I'm quite. I think I'm quite an odd writer because I write the stuff and then I don't generally reread it. Ever.
Right.
So I don't revisit stuff. If I'm happy with it when it's written, I don't need to revisit stuff. So I look at the art and I edit the book and I do all that, and I'll pick up and I'll give the finished product for once over, and then it's moving on to the next thing.
I suppose
So
it's
for
the
me-
writer's process in the same way as Paul was mentioning deadlines help an artist to stop noodling too much and going, right, I've got to put that to bed and move on now.
Yeah, because I wanted the book to be the best it possibly could be, and if I'm being niggly, well, I mean it is. It's brilliant. I mean, it looks great.
It's
Steve
a very
design,
vibrant cover
brilliant.
by Steve.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah,
it's a
great
wonderful
cover, Steve.
cover.
Thanks.
The logo's brilliant. All of the art by all of the artists that I'm really fortunate enough to work with, Paul included on Edge. I mean, I couldn't wish for a better team of people to be working with. Really, I mean, they're all brilliant. People have trusted me with the project. It's out there. I think it looks pretty good.
And would the plan be in a normal year to hit cons in Britain and try and sort of get copies out into people's hands that way?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always try and do a few cons per year, and obviously one of the plans was to ramp that up again this year, but that unfortunately hasn't happened. Fingers crossed something occurs next year and people can start to get out and meet creators again.
Things like this. It's sprung up this year, 2020.
Yeah, that's true.
We have to go digital. We've got to now somehow get, not monetize it, but get a way of the fans and everyone being able to commission artists and buy the books and do like an online version of it. We're slowly getting there.
Keep developing those online. I mean, this is like an initial idea to do something instead of ice, because we can't do ice, because we still really desperately wanted to promote artists, promote writers, promote publishers and retailers as well. We did a retailer special the other week,
and because new books are coming out every week, via Kickstarter. As we said, Shift hit the newsstands last week. The first.
And talking about shifts. I do think there has been a shift to more people looking at Kickstarter, looking at as people's wallets decrease. I know, as people's wallets decrease, I think people are looking for those quality products, those big page counts like Rejected, that you not only can read once, but maybe pick up 2 or 3 times in a year. That's not something I can do with comic book series. And obviously, with all the comic book shops shutting in Britain now for a month, once again, I'm sort of in the dark. And I found myself, for the first time in a while, backing more Kickstarters than I have done in the past.
Same here. Yeah. I mean, I find myself just flicking through Kickstarter, just looking for something I fancy reading, you know, because I can take a punt on 10 quid or here or 10 quid there. Or,
a lot of the time now, it's friends that we would have been meeting at the cons are doing the Kickstarters. You know, so there's a load of guys doing this stuff, and it's, you know, it's nice. It's still, the community's still there.
That's the nice side of social media, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And everyone's very encouraging in the comic book community.
Right.
One another.
Paul, it's 8 o'clock with you now, I think.
Yeah.
Time to send the kids off and come back home and start getting drunk.
You got to take the kids. You got to take the kids to school.
Get the kids off at the school.
How did you get into my head?
That's right. Daytime drinking.
It's going to be leathered by 1 o'clock.
Good to see you guys.
Great to meet
you.
Yeah,
and
thank you for joining us, Paul.
The signal's been brilliant.
Considering how far away you are, it's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is the I was trying to say before going was that, you know, this pandemic has had the side effect of actually, I've had more meetings than I've had, you know, since I've been here. I've been here now 8 years. So this has been really, you know, there's been an upside for me anyway.
Cool.
Sorry about the rest of the world having to go through a pandemic for it.
Yeah, you got off relatively
Take care, guys.
didn't you? Yeah.
Safe, all the best, mate.
Mate. So, Mel, one last thing before we all go. Quickly plug what's happening with Edge.
Okay, Edge of Extinction 4. Keep an eye on my social media platforms. We've got covers by, as per usual, the wonderful David Millgate, the wonderful Steve Sampson, the marvellous, majestic Ryan Brown. Paul Peart Smith has very kindly contributed his first cover to the series. And then Dom Reardon joins us as cover artist as well. So there's 5 cover variants.
Wow.
I'm a lunatic, and I think I'm DC Comics. And it's carnage, basically. It finishes off the first arc, and I'm not going to give anything away, but fresh pants and toilet tissue are probably needed.
And then the plan is to collect all those 4 as one volume, is it?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, we've already got some printing quotes and stuff on that. We're going to put a covers gallery in there. We've got original character designs and sketches from Paul. We've got some other bits and pieces. Like,
so you're going to put out issue 4 first?
I'm going to do both
directly.
I'm doing both at the same time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
Well, because, you know, why not?
Let us know when you do, because obviously we'll do our best to plug it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a good laugh.
That's been really good.
Thanks for inviting us. It's really nice. Much appreciated.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on and to chat with you guys. I wish we could stay longer. The hour goes so fast. It always
it's flying by, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good fun.
So have yourselves a great evening, what's left of it.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Take care.
See you guys.
Good to see you all.
See you all
Thanks
soon.
very much.
Stay safe.
Right, I'll say goodbye to you two as well, gentlemen. That was nice and relaxing in the end.
Still live, guys.
Yeah,
we're still live.
I'm just gonna end the broadcast.
Say good night.
Good night, everybody.